Codes verified. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Hello, captains, and welcome to the live. Skiffy, did you select yourself to be like the speaker while you were talking to the... Hi, everyone!
No, I didn't try to.
Well, oh, there we go. Well, I don't know what's going on. You can't... I'm speaking and it doesn't switch over to me. What's up with that?
This is a tragedy, people.
How dare you, people? How
he combed his hair
you.
and everything for this.
I did.
Did you log in as you, or do you need to log in as a bot?
I logged in as myself. I have to like double click myself in order for it to switch over to me when I'm speaking.
Hey now, it's a family show.
You know, I wonder if there's got to be... So I just reformatted my computer, folks. And
Really,
this
Jake
is-
didn't do it for you?
Yeah, no. Always show video preview. Turn off video spot. Oh, here we go. Ah, there we go. Found it. All right, that should do it. Can you guys say something?
Something. Dark side.
Nice. All right, that should do the trick. So, hi everybody. We are live with episode 455 of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. Like I said, I reformatted my machine, so everything is just out of sorts. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you holding
Someday you're
up?
going to have to tell me how formatting your machine actually moves your webcam.
Well, I was adjusting. I was doing cleaning up.
I'm
He
kidding.
dusted too. He dusted. There was
dusted.
dusting that happened. Probably
yes.
a little Windex.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. No Windex on a monitor. That's a bad thing to do. Do not do Windex on a monitor. So, how are you guys holding up? How's this week been for y'all?
Strangely similar to last week.
Strangely similar. Nice. All right.
Strangely similar to last week. They may all start to blend together.
I did shower at some point in
Oh,
the
that's-
recent
That's
past.
healthy. That's healthy. That's good.
There needs to be like a Hallmark e-card for this. Congratulations, you showered. I mean, I think that's definitely a coronavirus
Yeah, it's
sales.
We don't even know what day it is anymore. It's a day. Like
Yeah.
I worked and things were crazy as usual. And yeah.
I'm literally doing half the laundry that I normally would do. Like there's
Oh my
half
God,
the
I
loads of
know.
it.
Oh, that too. Yes.
I
yes.
just had to just wash all my executive yoga pants.
Nice. Well, we're so very glad to see so many people in the chat tonight. We hope that you will share this live stream right now with your friends. Let them know that they can get there. We're about to go into the news and reviews of Star Trek happenings and headlines right now. And of course, we have a review for Star Trek Picard's 2-part finale for season 1. And we have a lot to say. We have a lot to talk about there. So you better believe it's going to be a nice, good discussion. And for those of you that are going to also listen and download the show on Friday, we have a special guest this week. Star Trek Online's senior content designer, Ryan Leavitt, joins us this week to talk about the 2-part 10th anniversary event, the missions, and what it takes to be, pretty much a game master for mission master for Star Trek Online. How he keeps you engaged as the player. So don't miss that. Check that out on Friday if you haven't already. Be sure to subscribe. Just show of hands, who doesn't subscribe to Priority 1 podcast? Well, not show of hands, but just be like, sound off in the chat.
This is audio, by the way.
Yes, that's true. That's true. So, yeah, you should definitely do that. There's I'm gonna actually post a really handy link. That way, when you open it, let's say you're watching us right now on your browser, or rather on your phone or something, this will open up the default app that handles your podcasts on your mobile phone, for instance, or it'll just give you a list of optional subscription things. So let me do that.
Subscription as in downloading mechanisms, not as in pay for subscribing to stuff.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council. I appreciate that. Much obliged. And right now, like I said, be sure to hit that share button. Let everybody know that we're about to dive into the headlines for Star Trek, because in this crazy time, we understand that you may not be able to become a patron, but you can spread the word about the show, and that's what matters. All right. I'm gonna sip some water.
I was
Guys,
gonna spike my
guys.
drink tonight and I forgot.
Guys, I
Tragedy.
did my own eyebrows.
Wow, how'd that work
cleaned them
out?
up. I mean, when you're tweezing them, it hurts. When especially.
Look, mine would look like yours if I didn't tweeze them.
Right.
So
Look, no sympathy. There's no sympathy there.
But so my eyebrow hair is attached to me. What I assume is like when you set a post into the ground, like 8 feet deep. So I have very
How much
coarse-
cement did you pull out when you did
That's
that?
what I'm saying.
pulling your
It's like-
brains out
Yeah,
along
pretty
with
much.
it.
Pretty much. It's like I pulled from here and a hair from back here came out. Like it was so it's so thick. So man, I teared a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I was a 35-year-old man and I wept. This is terrible.
Dear God in heaven. Okay, I want to take this from the listener's perspective. All right, guys, we're going to dive into the Star Trek headlines. Oh, and my eyebrows.
It's good radio. It's good radio.
This quarantine, y'all.
It's quarantine. That's what this is. That's what this is all about.
Squirrel.
All right. I'm going to hit the big red button for intro. Actually, you know what? Can you guys say something for me real quick?
Something.
Dark
Things
side.
of.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that in the audio setup that I have now, it's not feeding in an audio into Audition. So I just want to make sure of that. Okay. I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, intro sync 1.
This is Kat, intro sync 2.
This is Tony, intro sync 3.
This is Skiffy, intro sync 4.
Anybody remember who did the cold open last week?
I think I did.
All right, Kat, can you do the cold
Hang
open?
on, my audition didn't work, but it worked 20 minutes ago.
Oh.
Oh, I know why.
All right, everybody
Once again.
clear your decks. Stop and clear your decks. Stop the recording, delete it, and then let's do this again.
I feel like I just did this, like, not last week, the week before.
Test. What?
Well, you know how we can, I just changed it, the intro.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, funnily enough, a friend asked me to send her a link to the podcast, and I sent her, I feel like
This
it was
week
just
on
2
Priority
episodes
One.
ago, and it was me reading the open.
Yeah, Tony
Right,
did
so-
it. I just listened to it. Tony did it last week. So
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
that was okay. All right.
All right.
Skiffy, you ready?
No, just go without me.
What?
I'll record the hi later.
All
It's
right.
the only thing I say.
Hi.
Fair enough. All right, I'm going to hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah, intro sync 1.
This is Kat, intro sync 2.
This is Tony, intro sync 3.
This is Skiffy, I fixed it, intro sync 4.
Intro in 3, 2.
This week on Priority One, Season 1 of Star Trek Picard is over, and now the postseason interviews are all over the net, including interviews with the showrunners. Oh, wait. Sorry, let me try that again. This week on Priority One, Season 1 of Star Trek Picard is over, and now the postseason interviews are all over the net, including interviews with the showrunners. In Star Trek Online, First Contact Day is around the corner, and Stowe has started teasing event information. We're also joined by Star Trek Online senior content designer Ryan Leavitt to chat about creating... Dang it. We're also joined by Star Trek Online senior content designer Ryan Leavitt to chat about creating engaging missions for players. And of course, in On-Screen, we dive into the 2-part finale of Star Trek Picard Season 1.
Hello, Captains. You're listening to episode 455. If nobody gets that, come on, somebody in the chat's got to get that. Do you get it, Kat? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but it was funny.
I have no idea what that is.
Hello, Captains. You're listening to episode 455 of Priority One, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. Your weekly recap and review of all the major news happening in the Star Trek multiverse. This episode was recorded live on Tuesday, March 31st, 2020, and available for download or streaming on Friday, April 3rd at PriorityOnePodcast.com. I'm Elijah.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Tony.
And in our audio booth is our chief audio engineer, Skiffy,
Hello, guys.
who is not managing any of the live stream or doing anything in the engineering aspect of
Of this live stream.
this live stream. Okay.
Before we jump into the news, we want to invite you to join in on the weekly conversations, whether via social media platforms like facebook.com/Priority One Podcast, on Twitter or Instagram at Priority One Pod, or by email to incoming@PriorityOnePodcast.com.
Captains, it's a tough time this year. Is really what it boils down to in this very tumultuous global pandemic that is happening and affecting so many lives. I'm sure many of you are Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, we understand that a financial contribution to something like a podcast may not be possible, and that's okay. You can support Priority One by simply sharing this show with all your friends on social media, or even an email, or while you're doing a Zoom call, or while you're on a Zoom conference call and you just so happen to talk about Star Trek. Tell your friends that they can get their weekly roundup of news with reviews and commentary right here on Priority One. It's support like that that keeps this show going. So thank you very much for those of you who do share. So a big thanks to those of you who do share the shows on our social media channels like Facebook and Twitch and Twitter. Those are things that I do see, and so thank you very, very much. That's it.
Oh, okay. Now let's check out the latest news from the Star Trek multiverse.
Everybody hit stop. This episode was... All right. Do me a favor. There's something in me today that's like, something's going to go wrong. Can you guys just listen back to your audio files just briefly and make sure it sounds good?
I never listened to this before.
I'm sensing a disturbance in the force.
Mine sounds good.
Good.
I mean, it has words and sound.
Ah!
That's all you're looking for, right?
Yes, that's all I'm looking for. It's just words and
Okay,
sounds.
good.
Because talking is half the battle.
Hey, some days it is.
Replying to AJ Biega, Star Trek Picard is better than Star Trek Discovery by a landslide. I would have to agree. Mark, didn't you ask this in Discord? Pretty sure you asked this in Discord. Somebody did. All right.
This is Tony intro, sync 3.
Oh, well, look at that. Sounds like you.
It's me on a podcast.
All right, so with Trek It Out, let's not worry too much about talking, because we have a lot of we have a lot of other talking that's going to be going on on screen.
We preempt this conversation to get to a different conversation.
Yes, so let's not worry too much about focusing on filling in the gaps, filling in time. Just also be mindful if you're the next person to speak and read the headline that you don't have the last word. That way, I'm telling you, theater of the mind. Did you listen back to last week's show? Did you listen back and did you think to yourself, wow, Elijah is right. This is much more engaging when the voices switch periodically and it's just not back to back. Did you? I hope you did.
We have a podcast?
Was that homework? Because I don't remember.
We solved that on the other show by just having me talk all the time.
Well,
that's how we fix that.
That's,
And then when someone else talks, it's just so refreshing.
well then.
What is your stick over there? Hashtag Toady was right.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
that's wrong. Because on this show, the price
this
is
show.
wrong, bitch.
Bob. Oh, bitch. That's right. He says bitch, not Bob. I think I watched the cleaned up network version of it where he said the price is wrong, Bob. They his lips said one word and his voice said another.
All right. Hey, Zeph.
Hello.
Or is it just Zeh? I think it's just Zeh because it's films. So it's just Zeh. What up, Zeh? No, I know we've had this conversation before. It's Zeh.
It's definitely not Z, though, because he's Canadian, right?
Zeh.
There's someone else named Z.
So it'd be
Zed.
Zed or Zed.
Zed.
Yeah, Zed.
Zeh.
Oh, it's Zed in Canada. Okay, but
Or is he
It's
French
like
Canadian?
kilometers. It's like
Alright.
miles and kilometers. It's kilometers everywhere else except America.
All right. I'm going to hit the big red button for Trek It Out. You guys ready?
Hmm?
In
Ready.
3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Trek It Out Sync 1.
This is Kat. Check it out. Sync 2.
This is Tony. Check it out. Sync 3.
This is Skiffy. Trek it out. Sync 4.
Trek it out in 3, 2. Star Trek Picard aired its final season. Oh, shoot.
You know something we don't know?
Star Trek Picard aired its final episode of Season 1, Et in Arcadia Ego Part 2, last week. And, of course, we'll get into what happened on screen later on in the show. But for now, let's have a look behind the scenes. The Hollywood Reporter chatted up with Picard Series 1 showrunner... Okay. The Hollywood Reporter chatted up with Picard's Series 1 showrunner, Michael Chabon, and executive producer Akiva Goldsman to hear more from the men behind the curtain. Now, be warned, spoilers are incoming. Might be good to have a spoiler warning there. The pair cleared up confusion about the original plan for the length. What? Oh, you know what? I have to zoom into this because I'm old now.
You have some broadcast glasses.
I do. The pair cleared up confusion about the original plan for the length of Picard's run, with Chabon saying, quote, "We didn't decide to do this to the character from a place of we didn't want to have future seasons or anything like that. From the original plan for the show, even though our original outline changed significantly to what you eventually saw, the plan, and Sir Patrick's plan from the beginning, was let's tell more stories with Picard," end quote. Now, if you are struggling to translate what he said, so are we, because this quote from the Hollywood Reporter makes very little sense. Can one of the members of council help us translate this?
So, yeah, I'm gonna throw it to my co-counsel first of all. I'm thinking that they're talking about how they didn't know what they were doing when they first pitched this.
Yeah, I'm thinking that initially they thought something totally different, and then we're like, that's never going to work. Let's redo the whole thing.
And
yeah, it's.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's just like, I think they started off with a 1-season commitment from Stewart, and then as they got into it, Stewart's like, "No, I can do more." It seems like that's what it was. Like, you know, Stewart was always hesitant about coming back to the character anyway, but that once he got into it, he thought, yeah, it's a good group, the project's working, and I could do more if there's, appetite for it.
Yeah, I fully think they thought they were like, oh, let's just kill off Picard. After this is going to be his denouement. So.
Right, like Logan was.
Exactly.
Like Logan was for X-Men,
exactly. Yeah. And then they were like, oh, hey, this could work.
Yeah.
I feel like this happens in a lot of TV shows, not just Picard, but you can tell when they've pivoted on their finale.
Well, they should have pivoted and it should have ended, but we'll get to that more later because Chabon continues to discuss the serialization of Picard and how it is received by Trek fans like you and I, saying, quote, "You really have to binge watch the whole thing in 10 episodes. And it's a tricky thing because of the whole episodic versus serialized way we watch things and how, especially Star Trek audiences, are sort of trained to expect more of that episodic mission of the week structure. And that's not what this show is," end quote.
I'm sorry. They're suggesting that this is a binge-worthy show, but they didn't release it as a binged product?
It's almost like they're the company that makes it and they can decide how to release it almost even maybe. I don't know. I'm very confused now.
Well, finally, Chabon touched on the challenges of writing Picard Season 2, saying, quote, "First, it's got to be good, right? It has to be focused on Picard, but have room for all the other characters. It's never going to be just a show about the crew of a starship that's part of Starfleet and everyone's wearing uniforms and they're flying around, encountering alien life and weird planets. Those are the challenges we face going into Season 2. And I'm so excited about the story we've come up with," end quote. Now, Akiva Goldsman was there, we do promise. We encourage you to check our links in the show notes to read on about what he has to say about bringing back Jerry Ryan.
Elijah, I've got a question for you,
Shoot.
which you can either discuss here or we can wait till the Picard discussion and on screen. But I happen to know that you did binge season 1 right before watching the finale. Is it something you want to talk about, how that adjusted your views on the show?
Yeah, I think that it is certainly worth a binge. I think that I enjoyed the journey more as a binge than I did episode to episode. A lot of it having to do with what we've spoken about in the past, where they have these really wonderful moments that then get kind of taken away from us. You know, these beautiful dialogues between two characters or monologues or whatnot, or a beautiful scene that then comes to a screeching halt in just the next scene. Then on top of that, you have to wait a week until the next part of the story. Yeah, this is one of those things where I don't think they've managed to figure out a formula that works with week-to-week television without it being serialized.
Yeah, this is they're releasing it in weekly format so that they can take $6.99 a month from you for CBS All Access. But the purpose, the creative and artistic drive of it is, let's have a bingeable product that people who don't watch it the first time can come subscribe to and access later on as a whole, as an encapsulated series. So I mean, it's up to us, the early adopters, let's say, to make that transition from the serial to from the episode to the serial as we're getting it week to week.
Like they're just a network juggernaut who can't let go of the week to week. You release content every week. Like they can't let it go, because then it would show, like Netflix was right. Hey, people want all this at one time.
Right. They can't afford to do that. They just
Right.
can't.
Nope.
They have to have people paying for the month because otherwise people would binge it and then stop. Because why? There just isn't enough content on CBS All Access to justify keeping that subscription. I canceled mine like the day after I watched the series finale of Picard on CBS All Access. And then on top of that...
And then got 30 days for free.
And then got 30 days for free. And then on top of that, the UI is garbage. I mean, it's just terrible.
Oh, it's just horrible. Horrible.
We keep bringing it up every week because I'm hoping to God that somebody at CBS could maybe reach out to us and make a statement that they're working on it. If anybody even from CBS listens to the show, please do. I encourage you to reach out to us. And if you'd like to come on to the show to talk about what it takes to create the UI for a
please send us your terms and conditions.
Service, then please reach out to us. But
we promise this is a loving space, despite our criticisms. It's because we criticize because we love the show.
Because we care.
Love the IP.
We shout because we care.
We shout because we care. I will say this, though. I think it's on CBS All Access, if you have closed captioning on, there are a lot of typos. A lot. And they need to get on that.
I'm guessing, I don't know, but I'm guessing they're using AI to do their captioning then.
Maybe. All right. Now we head on over to Variety.
Good transition. Didn't you just say, well, we promised there's a quote from Akiva Goldsman? Yeah, that was the last line of your previous thing.
Yeah, but...
You want me to continue saying that?
No, don't. Figure out a way around it.
Shaban soloed with Variety and discussed Star Trek feedback, serialization, and the subtle inclusion of the LGB. Yeah, it's letters altogether. It's not an actual word. Okay. QRSTUVWXYZ. And the subtle inclusion of the LGBTQ.
Just take it from the top of that.
Okay. Shaban then soloed with Variety and discussed Star Trek feedback, serialization, and the subtle inclusion of the LGBTQ community in Picard. Shaban told Variety that he read the conversations, critiques, and reviews of Star Trek, both new and old. He even went so far as to look up old Usenet boards focused on Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager. And he was surprised to learn that fan reaction was not so dissimilar 30 years ago. There was a certain demographic Chabon didn't mind upsetting. Quote, to the extent that I was aware of the kind of toxic fandom, the anti-SJW, sad little corner of fandom, you just disregard that. Sometimes you're motivated to have things simply because it's possibly going to piss off or provoke people who seem to have missed the memo about just exactly what Star Trek is and always has been about. End quote. When considering fan discomfort in a darker Star Trek tone and more broadly serialization, Chabon said, quote, it's a little weird for me too. I can feel this deep wiring in my brain that wants Star Trek to be episodic. I can remember how odd it felt watching those serialized episodes of Deep Space Nine. I wasn't entirely sure I liked it then either. It was so far ahead of its time. It felt appropriate. I respected it. I understood it. And it made me uncomfortable as a Star Trek fan. End quote. Chabon also discussed a perceived lack of LGBTQ inclusion in Star Trek Picard, indicating it was there if you look close enough. And, quote, we're doing it in an organic way, what feels organic to me. In Raffi's scene where she calls into Starfleet to try to get access for them to the artifact, the implication is there in their relationship. But she doesn't ever say, I'm going to call this woman that I used to go out with. And she doesn't say, hey, remember me? I used to be your girlfriend. End quote. The article is long and offers insight into Chabon's least favorite social media outlet, what Picard looks like going into season 2, and how Chabon is handling the pandemic. Follow the link in our show notes to check it out.
We've spoken ad nauseum about the concept of episodic content versus serialized content. I think that this story with Picard was better as a I think that this story for Picard was better as a serialized format. I think this story for Picard was better in a serialized format. And I wouldn't mind if back in the day we were talking about how CBS was just kind of throwing all the darts and hoping a few of them stick in terms of success, financial success for them and success throughout the Star Trek fandom. Fine. If they're going to do that, so be it. Then let's get stories like Picard in serialized format that work well and lend themselves well to serialized format. And then let's get to a story or a ship or some kind of plot that is more episodic, right? If they're going to just be making content, then let's do it that way. Discovery, for instance, that could probably lend itself to be more episodic than serialized. What I don't want, for me personally, is that those episodic adventures happen only in something like an animated format or through short treks.
I really think the ship has sailed, though. I mean, the only reason it's still episodic at all is to keep the subscription base up. The way the television is now, you make a show, you make a season so that someone can, months or years from now, log on, find it, and then binge watch it if they want to. That's how they're making television now. I don't see a full dramatic TV series for streaming ever being episodic, at least in the near future.
Yeah, it's way more season based than
Right.
episode based. That's just the way things are being produced these days. Probably because of the financing and the way Netflix had their business model set up. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. What's Picard without Picard? The Hollywood Reporter sat down with the Picard portrayer and executive producer Sir Patrick Stewart to talk Picard, uniforms, and Kirk. In regards to filming the poignant final meeting of Picard and Data in Arcadia Ego Part 2, Stewart said, quote, I was looking forward to it, not just because I get to work with my friend Brent Spiner again, but because the content of the scene was so serious given that Picard, he knew this would probably be the last time he would ever see his friend, end quote. Totally not doing a Picard impression, because no way. The interview took a decidedly reminiscent tone when Stewart recalled being quite cross when refused one of his uniform costumes following the filming of TNG's All Good Things, but was later gifted the threads on a late-night talk show appearance. Stewart just, quote, I often tease my wife that I will one day wake one morning wearing that uniform since she grew up watching The Next Generation with her family, end quote. Sir Patrick ends the interview recalling the filming of Kirk's death scene in Star Trek Generations. Quote, "It was an extremely potent moment, I have to say. Working with Bill and being present when Captain Kirk finally came to an end, it was a great privilege," end quote.
Speaking of deaths, what would Picard be without Data? Oh. What?
Huh?
I'm looking at this. I don't get the joke.
What would Picard be without Data? Oh, right. Because now he's without Data.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
So, what would Picard be without Data? Ooh, right. Well, this week, TV Guide interviewed the 71-year-old Spiner to talk about his many roles in Star Trek. Spiner had glowing things to say about his last meeting with Sir Patrick Picard. Spiner had glowing things to say about his last meeting with Sir Patrick's Picard, telling TV Guide, quote, "I think there's something really profound about what Michael Chabon wrote for Data to say about those things that are fleeting. That morality is what makes us human. And
Mortality.
That mortality is what makes us human. And those things that mean the most to us never last forever. I felt very much like we were doing Next Generation. There was something very familiar about it." Okay, I don't need to read this. End quote. Spiner, who has said on countless occasions that he would not reprise his role as Data, repeated that sentiment. Quote, "I wouldn't really entertain the idea of doing it again because I just don't think it would be realistic. So it seems right to me to give him this more gentle send-off. And it seemed right to me in the context of the entire season of Picard and what Picard himself had been experiencing because of the loss of Data. I think it allows him to feel okay about it too. So it seemed like the right thing to do." End quote. That doesn't mean that Spiner is done with Star Trek, though. When asked about possibly portraying Alton Inigo soon, again, Spiner said, quote, "Absolutely. I love working with all of the people on the show. The new cast is fantastic. Obviously, to still be working with Patrick is a dream. Now there's a character that could conceivably go on and continue. So, of course, I'd love to." End quote. You know, I vaguely remember Sir Leonard. You know, I vaguely remember a Leonard Nimoy saying he never wanted to do Spock again. And also had him killed off, too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was his rationale in Nemesis, right? I'm getting older, you know, it doesn't make any sense for Data not to age, so, you know, here's Data's swan song in Nemesis. Oh, I guess I'll come back again. And now he's got another role he can play. I just looked it up. So Spiner has now played, I think, 6 different characters in Star Trek. Data, Lore, B4, Noonien Soon, the Soon in Enterprise, whose first name I forget, and now Alton Inigo Montoya Soon.
You killed my father. Prepare to die.
So that's 6 by my count. Jeff Combs has 9. So if Spiner keeps this up, he might catch up to Wayoon and Brunt. You know, the guy that played Wayoon and Brunt.
Here's the thing. I seem to recall an episode of TNG where they claimed Data would age. Anybody remember that, or am I imagining it?
No, it was talked about it, and I think that in one of like the future, I don't know, they talked about it, but I don't know that it ever happened.
Oh, well, in All Good Things, remember he had
has a
gray
streak of
He
gray.
had a stripe.
For distinguishment.
A stripe that, if you look carefully, Soji has in her hair.
What? Really?
Yeah, if you look carefully, Soji has a stripe down her hair.
Just craziness.
That's right.
Okay. We done? Is that good?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
No, you have to sweep out, Tony.
Okay. Well, I'll sweep out as long as we're done. If we're done, I'll sweep out.
I'm gonna
Okay, I'll sweep
Walk-
that.
I'm
Just
gonna
wait. Just
walk
hold on.
over.
Hold on. I gotta get my sweeping voice.
I'm gonna
I
walk.
got my
can't
sweeping
fly.
voice.
I can't fly to Wichita, but I can.
Got it. Data had an aging program designed to simulate the external effects of aging in his physical appearance. This is from the episode Inheritance on TNG.
That everyone promptly forgot, except for Memory Alpha. Okay.
Right. Yes.
All right. So sweeping voice. Well, captains, that's all the news we have to trek out this week. Now let's find out what happened in the world of Star Trek gaming.
Woohoo! Everybody hit stop. So much for that being a short segment.
It's 20 minutes.
Yeah, I was
That's
trying.
short for.
In my head, it was
Henry
more
Pomper
like
says,
10.
should we count all the holographic versions of Data that Spiner played in A Fistful of Datas?
Oh my God, that's just like
That's
no,
right.
no.
And there's
'cause-
the episode. There's the episode where the Enterprise is making that life form, and he plays a train conductor or a train sheriff on the train. So he was in the holographic program there too.
I don't think that counts. And then, of course, you have to start saying, well, he pretended to be Sherlock Holmes. So is that Data playing Sherlock Holmes? Is he Sherlock Holmes now? No, I don't think so.
All right, I am
think
ready
it's
when
Data.
you guys are.
I'm still exporting,
Top of that,
but I'm
the
almost done exporting.
with Sir Patrick Stewart. When asked
I'm
about,
done exporting.
Almost
Great.
done.
I just thought I'd keep you informed.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate.
You're
it.
welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, you know, we didn't ask a community question. Shit, I got one. Well, that brings us to our first community question. Ah, shoot.
Hey, are we
Wait,
recording?
are you recording?
I'm gonna record this. Yeah, ignore that. You don't have to record with me.
Oh, okay.
So this is 2A.
Well, that means we can all talk and try to distract you while you're recording
ahead,
your
try.
community question.
Watch me.
Go
Watch me
ahead,
do
try.
it.
I dare you.
I dare you. To question, Elijah. Well, that brings us to our first community question.
I wanna
play a random ground cue. You guys are dicks.
amazing things.
All right. Damn it! Now I'm gonna clear my deck.
Don't.
Well, that brings us to our.
Don't tempt us.
Our first community question this week. What do you think about Brent Spiner returning as Inigo Sung? Let us know in the comment section for this episode at PriorityOnePodcast.com or by replying to our community question post on our social media channels like Facebook and Twitter.
So all that yelling we did while he was recording fed back into his mic and ruined his recording.
Ah, shit. Inigo.
No, I'm kidding. I'm
Sung.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh,
You had him though. You had him for a
you did
second.
have me. I was about to. I listened back to it just so I can. All right, now I'm ready. You guys ready?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna hit the big red button in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Stowe News Sync 1.
This is Kat. Star Trek Online News, Sync 2.
This is Tony fixing his gain real quick because it crept up. Okay, this is Tony, STO News, Sync 3.
This is Skiffy, Star Trek Online News, Sync 4.
Stowe News in 3, 2. Star Trek Online has posted the official announcement for this year's First Contact Day celebration event. The updated event, which has been updated from previous years, runs from April 2nd through April 23rd and will now include a new mission along with the annual Phoenix Rocket Launch Contest. For the first time, players will have the opportunity to step back in time to April 4th, 2063, the day before the historic Zephram Cochrane the day before the historic date when Zephram Cochrane took humanity's first warp flight. Under the direction of Temporal Agent Daniels, we'll team up with 7 of 9 to find and reverse changes to the timeline that the Borg have made, all in an effort to finish what they attempted to do in the film Star Trek First Contact. By completing either the new mission or the Phoenix Rocket Launch Contest for a total of 14 days, players will earn the usual First Contact Day event bundle and a brand new universal console, the Temporal Vortex Probe. Never mind. This console provides
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone. This console provides passive bonuses to exotic damage and temporal operative bridge officer ability cooldowns, along with a turn rate bonus scaled by auxiliary power. When activated, the console launches a probe, which opens a temporal vortex that travels towards a target's location, inflicting damage and slowing enemy ships. In addition to checking for its... Never mind. The event also includes...
Leave it alone!
The event also includes the new standard Zen... The event also includes a new standard Zen buyout and bonus dilithium payout options. For each day of progress, players will also have their choice of 17 new uniform badges. Ooh, the end game Space Barbie is happening even more.
Woohoo!
The badges teased so far in Ambassador Kale's Twitter post include Trill, Ferengi, Liberated Borg, and an Idic among several others. Okay. And a symbol for Idic among several others. Kale also noted a couple of quality of life updates to the event. So what do you think? Will we see the Enterprise or any of her crew? Could there be a surprise cast appearance other than 7 of 9? Are these Borg timeline changes setting up Stowe to diverge from the prime timeline? What do you guys think?
I don't know. I don't think so. Was the crew, the Enterprise, there the day before? I guess it was the day before.
Yes, they arrive in Star Trek First Contact. They arrive the day before First Contact.
Well, I'd like to go see Deanna and Zephram Cochrane drinking at the bar.
Yes.
Now, don't go criticizing my counseling techniques.
It's a primitive culture.
Classic.
I bet they're gonna do what we saw a little bit of in the big Starship Enterprise scene at the end of the anniversary episode. They'll probably be stealing bits and pieces from First Contact, like you remember Back to the Future 2, where Marty's sneaking around and he sees the fight and his dad goes to the door. I mean, you see the movie from a different angle. I suspect they're probably gonna do something similar here.
Oh, like Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
As long as we don't have to listen to Ooby Dooby.
Ooby Dooby.
Oh my god.
Ooby Dooby. Do-wah.
Like, how is that the song? I must have been cheap licensing.
Sorry, Elijah, that's a copyright strike.
That's true.
No. It's a parody and it's a
Derivative
vocal.
works.
It's a vocal reproduction. Derivative works count right.
It's completely fair use because we're discussing it in the moment. So
there we go.
Plus, he did it very badly, so it's obviously parody.
How dare you?
I'm sorry, Tony. You're gonna have to word that more artfully next time.
Oh, sorry, artfully. I didn't word that very artfully.
All right, let's move on to the next headline.
Star Trek Online has also just announced the addition of a new Tier 6 ship to the Infinity Lockbox, along with adding the Kelvin Divergence lockbox prizes to the Infinity Box. They've also added a brand new Tier 6 Ferengi Marauder named after Quark himself. The T6 Quark Marauder is a welcome T6 update to the T5 Ferengi Decora, including Commander Engineering / Miracle Worker and Lieutenant Commander Science / Miracle Worker Specialist seating. The ship carries a 5-3 weapons layout, a 9 degree per second turn rate, and the extra universal console slot common to Miracle Worker ships. Naturally, like all Ferengi vessels, it also includes a built-in Dabo table, bank, and exchange terminal. To see the full specs of the new ship, check out the blog link in our show notes. So excited!
Now, Skiffy, you have a Marauder, don't you? A very special Marauder.
I do.
Lucky!
So
I want to say that also came with the Battle Module 4000. I don't remember.
It does, because you can't get that console unless you have that Negus ship.
So what is the battle module? What is that?
That is the console that converts the ship from defense mode into battle mode and unlocks a missile defense system and a couple of other powers. I think it's got a total of 3 powers.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, the Decora has that though, right? Or has a version of that.
Yeah, I think this is the first time. So the Decora came with the battle module 3000.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
the
a
new
set.
Marauder has the 4000.
Awesome.
And I want to say the Negus had a. I thought the Negus had an upgraded 3000, but I can't remember exactly what it was now.
I'm not sure, but if you have the 3-piece set from the Lobby store, like the Ferengi, weapons, you get like a special duty officer mission that gets you really cool stuff if you have that set equipped. If you didn't know that, because
I didn't know that.
We do have a Ferengi fleet in the Armada, and it's pretty much all Ferengi all the time.
Wait, break that down. Break that down for us again. So you buy.
Okay, so you have the Lobby set of the Ferengi weapons. There's like the rocket launcher and the console, and that console also, is a set with the other ship sets, the Nandi and the Negus. But if you equip the Ferengi set from the Lobby store, that brings up a special, like the trader that you summon. It summons some Ferengi guys, and it's like a duty officer mission, and you can run it every 20 hours. The Ferengi Privateer Duty Officer mission, and it's only runs if you have that set equipped.
And what kind of stuff does it pay out?
Oh, it does like R&D stuff. Random, just random stuff. It could be any number of things. It's pretty cool.
Is there anything in those rewards that are exclusive to that set?
No, it's just drops. Random drops, but it's still pretty good stuff.
Well, that brings us to our next community question. Are you excited for the Tier 6 Decora update, the Quark Marauder? Let us know in the comment section for this episode, or just be sure to follow us on social media like Facebook or Twitter.
Late last week, Star Trek Online announced an immediate 3-week event from March 26th through April 16th, acknowledging that, quote, "We're all feeling the crush of being at home right now," end quote. This special event will reward 50% bonuses to content that rewards fleet or reputation marks. So while you're looking for something to pass the time stuck at home, maybe now's the chance to finish those Tier 6 reputations you've been grinding away at.
Now's the time to introduce a new reputation, I will say that, if they're going to.
Oh, please don't. We have so many.
You're right. I really don't want to go through another 6 tiers of a reputation.
Panda already ruined this ship calling it the Dequarca. Really, Panda? Really? That's amazing.
Speaking of fleet and fleet mates, Kat, why don't you tell us what's going on in Armada news?
Oh, man, we have exciting Armada news this week. First of all, though, we have moved a TFO Tuesday to TFO Thursday. So now join us every Thursday while we run missions, earn marks, and dilithium. To check the time, if you're a member of the Armada, just go to your events window and it will tell you what time it starts in your local time zone. Also, for the Armada, starting to April 1st, basically the whole month of April, starting April 1st, we are celebrating the Terran Empire. So during the month of April, it is all things Mirror Universe. In the Armada, we change the Armada name. Everyone has special, Terran Empire names. We've got cool outfits. We run events, but we also do daily giveaways. So if you're not a member of the Armada and you want to join, just visit PriorityOneArmada.com because you may win a Mirror Universe ship. It's a T5 ship, but we are giving out one a day.
Nice.
Yeah. That's all I've got.
It's my turn. It's my turn. Do you want me to go?
In other gaming news.
Okay. Do you want me to sweep us out?
I know. I need you to re-say in other gaming news.
Oh, in other gaming news? Okay. Yeah. Just that bit?
Just that.
Okay. Hang on. In other gaming news...
For our viewers who play Star Trek Timelines, this week sees the For our viewers who play... Viewers. For those
Listeners?
For those of you who play Star Trek Timelines, this week there's a special rerun of DS9's baseball-themed The Galactic Series as a hybrid faction/galaxy event. The event features special crew like Niners Ezri, Martian Quark, Nurse Garland, and Niners Rom. Variants of these crew, along with crew possessing the athlete trait, will receive bonuses during the event. So, open up your mobile devices and be sure to log in to Star Trek Timelines. Cat.
That's a wrap.
You don't want me to do it?
No.
Do you want me to do my sweeper voice?
No.
Okay, I was just asking.
You sound like you have horrible laryngitis.
I'm whispering.
Sounds like laryngitis.
Okay.
That's a wrap for Star Trek Online and gaming news. Now we welcome Star Trek Online senior content designer Ryan Leavitt.
Everybody hit stop.
How rude. What if he actually had laryngitis? You'd really have egg on your face.
Oh my.
He doesn't.
Hey, sir.
I would have heard it from the moment he got on line.
Coronavirus. I recognize the symptoms anywhere.
Everybody wipe off your microphones. I've got coronavirus.
I actually have two friends that have it, and it's pretty bad.
Oh man.
I've heard a swath of stories.
My great grandmother.
Really mild to really severe.
I just found out that my great grandmother has it. She's in her 90s.
Oh no.
Oh no, I'm sorry to hear
And
that.
She's asymptomatic, or her symptoms are minor. And to be honest with you, that woman is. Everybody in our family is gonna die before she does. Like she's just that kind of like
Tank.
Like she's just a tank. She's just not. She got hit by a bus in her 80s or no 70s. Like for real, got hit by a bus, flew a block, and landed and survived and lived to tell the tale. Like with
Impressive.
she got beat up a little bit, but like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. She was able to walk. She got up and she walked and yeah. So
what you're saying is she's a superhero.
she's got some. I hope I have her genes.
Well, you do. You've got like an eighth of them.
Well, I do have an eighth of. Yes, you're right.
You're like a 1/8 superhero.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh
So
wow,
we'll see.
Zeph says a security guard at his work was also tested positive.
All right, so what do you guys think we should do? Should we do feedback and closing first, or should we do on screen first?
Let's do feedback and closing and get it out of the way.
All right.
Well, do we have any Picard stuff in feedback?
No, I don't think so.
No, we just have the one question.
Okay, then yeah, let's do that. Let's do it that way then.
All right, so 6 EP 455 feedback.
Tony just brought up a good question. Are we going to bring any of the Picard stuff from last week forward into?
What we recorded last week?
Yeah.
No, this is just all brand new.
Okay.
I told you not to edit it. I warned you. I told you.
I warned you. I told you.
I knew it.
I knew you.
I knew what was going to happen. I knew it.
I do you.
Oh, the closing community questions aren't updated.
No, they're not. What was the first
Are we
one?
doing one of this feedback closing merge, or are we doing separate files?
And what was Stowe's community question?
Oh, the Dequarca. Wait, what do you call
The
it?
Dequarca. The Dequarca. It's a good name.
It's great.
Missed opportunity from
Dang
the
you,
Stowe devs.
Panda. You're so
Are you excited for the Tier 6 Decora update? The
Dequarca
Quark
update.
Marauder.
Isn't there already an Admiralty card for that ship? Don't I have a gold?
There is something. Hang on, I
Ferengi?
gotta see what that
I
is.
think you can get a one-off for the Nagus, right? Like if you win it.
No, there's a permanent gold top tier. You're right. There is something. Hang on, I gotta look it up.
Oh, when you get tier 5 or tier 10 in Admiralty for Ferengi?
That might be where it's. from.
Yeah, that's
I
where it's
think
from.
that's
it.
it. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Oh yeah, that thing. Shut up! You don't even know.
I can't remember the name of the ship though.
I know I don't either. Now that I couldn't tell you.
Fortunately, there's a great resource called Google.
Google. The hell's that?
It's a very large number,
Oh,
Mm.
but that's not important right now. Ferengi Trade Alliance Quark's Triumph.
Oh yeah,
That's
what
it.
it is.
Negative
Yes.
20% maintenance on any ship.
That's a ticket. Oh, were you making good radio, or
no,
were
I
you?
need to move this. All right.
Okay.
I'm planning ahead for the assembly.
Okay. Well,
because
then
I don't
I'll
think we-
I'll say random things and talk in my
All right, we're good.
laryngitis voice.
I'm
Okay.
gonna hit the big red button for feedback in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah. Feedback sync 1.
This is Cat. Feedback sync 2.
This is Tony. Feedback sync 3.
This is Skiffy Feedback Sync 4.
Feedback in 3, 2. Well, Captains, hailing frequencies are now open, and we're ready to receive all of your incoming messages.
This week we asked which stow duty officer is your go-to officer for your favorite builds.
From Facebook, Devin Rowland writes in and says, Elder Malikitan on all builds and the emergency con hologram on all builds.
Now, for those of you unfamiliar with that DOF, Elder is a Gamma Recruit reward who gives the player a plus 10% bonus on all damage in both space and ground combat.
From Facebook, David Collins also said Elder Malakatan from the Gamma Recruit event has appeared on almost all of my builds since he was unlocked.
On
Good to
PriorityOnePodcast.com, Chiyumiku writes in, I use 3 duty officers that grant additional security officers so that every single time I beam down a team to help me... time I beam down a team to help me, I get a full 6 officers. And then my system lags out because there's 11 Starfleet officers, including myself, going pew 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 pew.
From PriorityOnePodcast.com, Tyler Maxwell writes in and says, as many as possible. Gotta catch 'em all. Dofimon. Dofimon?
Gotta catch 'em all, Dofimon.
The problem with the DOF system is once players are
It's
done,
actually
rank
Dof.
4.
Dofimon.
Yeah, but it's Pokemon, so I wonder
A
if the
ship
long
so
nose should go there.
true.
Yeah,
I'm
either
gonna
way.
pew pew you.
God, no.
Really taking advantage of that derivative works license.
Gonna need more wine.
I really should have spiked my drink before coming on.
I'm
Gotta drink
seriously.
it all.
I'll be right back.
I target you, you target me.
Oh my God.
Okay, but Tyler Maxwell's not done. He has more words.
I choose you, Whiskey.
I choose you, Jack Daniels.
The problem with the DOF system is once players are done, rank 4 commendation with all the DOFs that they care about, what is there to make them keep going? The duty officer system needs to be made rewarding enough so that players will want to engage with the system repeatedly to get stuff, but not so much that it screws the game economy and needs to be nerfed. I'd love to see something where I could send some Admiralty ships and my duty officers on a mission.
Now that the only one I don't have maxed out is recruitment, and I don't really care for it. Everything else on my duty officers are maxed out on my main character, but
Sounds like you're being stubborn.
I guess I might. I just don't want to have to go down to Starfleet Academy, man.
It is kind of a pain, you
It
know.
really is.
All the little cadets, they kind of crowd you because you're a super famous Starfleet guy.
What can you say?
I want your autograph.
All right, everybody hit stop. Except for Kat, because she's off refilling her drink.
I'm
What
back.
Did
Pushing stop.
you hear her wail in the space bar? I'm back, wham!
Stop recording.
All right, upload your files. File, new audio file. This one is going to be 7, closing. All right. I choose you,
That was
Bacardi.
awesome. Mm.
I am ready. Let me know. Can we sound off, please, when everybody's ready?
Yep,
Sound
go
off.
for it.
Skippy?
Yeah, I'm good.
Tony?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm good.
Cat? Cat, you're muted.
I am?
Oh, there you go.
I thought she was muted too. It looked like she said something. And
You
I didn't
look
hear
like you
it.
said
Oh,
something.
I
but-
was faced away. Sorry.
So wait, are you ready or no?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear yet. All I saw was.
Oh,
All right,
I'm
gonna have to
practicing my ventriloquism.
Oh, perfect. So that's what you're doing with all your time at home. Cat's just sitting there. Hi. Hi, how are you? Oh, I'm doing well. Oh,
Get out
okay.
of. Have you been watching my? Quit it.
Perhaps we could feature a segment on the podcast where she does ventriloquism.
Well, here's the thing. She doesn't have a puppet yet. Right now, it's just socks with googly eyes. That's it. That's all it is.
Hey,
You know what?
effective.
You know what? If Kat, if you don't want to do that, I'm going to steal that idea because I think podcast ventriloquism would be a huge hit. I mean, I think
That
I'd
one
be
with
really
the-
good at it.
With the
Represents
cars
a whole
driving
new
by.
section of entertainment.
Yeah,
Whole
yeah.
new category.
Do you guys remember Itchy and Scratchy? Not Itchy.
Oh
and
my
Scratchy.
God! Yeah,
No,
Ren and
not Itchy-
Stippy.
No, not Ren and Stippy. Syphil and Ollie. There we go. Syphil and it was on MTV. It was the sock puppet show on MTV. No, nobody remembers this. Oh man, that was
No.
so 90s.
When did that come on?
Like late 90s, early 2000s, like late at night too. It was
I don't
kind of like a
remember.
Space Ghost Coast to Coast, except for MTV.
I only watched 120 minutes on Friday nights. You know, maybe that was Saturday
Advisory
nights.
Panda 404 reference not found.
That is true. All right, I'm going to hit the big red button for closing in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah closing sync 1.
This is Kat closing sync 2.
This is Tony closing sync 3.
This is Skivvy closing sync 4.
Closing in 3, 2. Well, that wraps up episode 455 of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. But don't fret, because there are more great shows available to you on the Roddenberry Podcast Network. Just visit podcasts.roddenberry.com for a complete list. Then be sure to subscribe to them all and share them with your friends.
But we can't forget to send a special thanks to some of our Patreon supporters like Diana Gunther, Darnell Dwayne Ross, David K. Retley, Joshua Selig, and Peter Archibald.
And before we go, here's a reminder of our community questions this week. Would you be excited to see Brent Spiner return as another Sung? And in Star Trek Online, will you be getting your hands on the Dequarka? Or rather, the new Tier 6 Decora updated ship.
Captains, it's important to us that you get your voice heard and that you participate in the conversation. Leave us a comment on our website at PriorityOnePodcast.com, on our Facebook page at Facebook.com/PriorityOnePodcast, or find us on Twitter and Instagram at PriorityOnePod.
And if you're still craving more, be sure to spend time with Winters, me, and the rest of the Priority One Armada. Saturday nights, the Armada broadcasts live to review the latest news from Star Trek Online and the Armada community, including spotlighting some of our amazing members. With regular giveaways, there's something for all Star Trek Online players, whether you're new or a veteran. Follow us on all our social media accounts for broadcast times, and if you'd like to join the Armada, visit PriorityOneArmada.com.
This episode of Priority One is brought to you by our patrons through Patreon.com. Find out more and add your support at Patreon.com/Priority One. Now, Captains, we understand that this is a difficult time for all of us. So if you cannot make a financial contribution, the next best thing you can do is share the show. Tell your fellow Trekkies that they can get the weekly roundup of news right here at Priority One Podcast. It's your support that keeps us going.
And don't forget to tune into Priority One Productions' Guard Frequency podcast at guardfrequency.com. Each episode, the Guard will take you inside the universe of your favorite space sims, including a tabletop adventure played out by your hosts. And Heroes Rise brings you up to date with the world of Dungeons and Dragons. Learn all about the latest publications, tools, tips, tricks, and traps in less time than it takes to skin a wyvern. Head over to heroesrisepodcast.com to discover their secrets.
Thanks to our audio Thanks to our very special guest this week, senior content designer Ryan Leavitt from Star Trek Online. Thanks to our audio editors, including Gray, William, Brandon, Rand, Daniel, Roscoe, and Skiffy. Thanks to our producer, Jake Morgan, and associate producer, Shane Hoover, for helping us organize and write up our summary of the weekly headlines from the Star Trek multiverse. Thanks to our graphic artist, Henry Pomper, with support from Jason Smith of the Priority One Armada. Thanks to the composer of our theme music, Chris Watts. But most importantly, a big thanks to you, the Star Trek community, our listeners. Because without your ongoing support, none of this would be possible. Everybody hit stop.
Shields up. Ready phasers.
I feel weird now that we're
Engage.
No. Now we're going to go back and do on screen.
Just fooling with your mind, man. We're harshing your
Yeah,
mellow.
if anybody just tuned into the live stream, we're not done yet.
Yeah, we're not done yet.
Out of order. You're out of order.
EP455 _ on screen _ Elijah. You know what, Skiffy? I know that we technically have written approval to use that music, but you know that Facebook's going to hit us with it. You know it. This is going to be like, that
Facebook?
belongs
You mean
to
YouTube?
Ronald.
They didn't hit us
YouTube
last
and
time.
with Ronald Jenkins music? I don't remember you playing it that loud.
I did it once before.
Oh, all right, cool.
Yeah, we've got permission to use this stuff.
We have permission, but that doesn't mean that Facebook knows that we have permission.
I'm looking for a fight.
Oh, great.
Facebook's a
You know
bunch
what?
of
I'm gonna
dicks.
forward the email to you, and then you can handle it.
Okay.
I meant to Skiffy, not you, but
Oh, okay.
If
Yeah.
you want
yeah,
it,
give it
then-
to Skiffy. Let Skiffy do it.
I defer to non-opposing counsel.
Opposing counsel.
All right. You know what? I have to use the restroom. You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take a break because I'm definitely going to spike my drink for this thing. This thing we're about to do.
All right, break.
We'll be right back.
5 minutes. All right.
Command codes verified. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Hi, everybody. We're back. Not totally back, but back enough. Everybody else went away, but I figured I'd
Command codes verified.
make a radio by myself. I'm sure some people still have their headphones in, like Kat. She walked away.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Oh, there's Kat. Yeah. Okay. Oh, she does not. Oh, I forgot that the music was playing. Oops.
The music. Boring.
All right. So our sound effect is just running in the background. Might bring it back. That's good. Cool. All right.
You know, it's sad that quarantine life is not that different from my normal life.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, it's really sad.
Oh, jeez.
So all you gotta do is move to a city where you don't know anybody and
Right,
just hang
well.
out and play Star Trek Online with your friends.
That's true. That is true.
And it's totally fine. Like, I don't miss anything. Oh, Farnsworth said nothing's changed for him either. Yeah, I'm like, I pretty much just stay home because where am I going to go?
All right.
Thanks for co-signing me, Farnsworth.
All right.
Social distancing. I've been socially distant my whole life.
Ah, Skiffy did have his headphones in. Woo! Right. Yeah.
Can't believe you started without us.
Well, I just went live because I didn't want people to think that we were done, and so I came back.
They should all know we need refills on our drinks by this time.
That's true. That is true.
Well, so I went all out. I've got tea. I've got a root beer float because I have a feeling this is going to be a long one.
A root beer float?
Root beer float?
All right.
You just happen to have one of those sitting around, or can you send me one? I would love
cheated.
one.
It's 2 ingredients. 3 if you count the mug.
Root beer and float.
Plus a
I
straw.
have 2 ingredients in my drink too. It's Dr.
Rum and
Pepper.
Coke?
Yeah, yeah. This is going to sound really weird, but it's amazing. It's Diet Dr. Pepper and cream soda and Fireball whiskey.
Oh, gross.
No, it sounds terrible, but let me tell you, it's pretty smooth.
I was waiting for you
Diet
to say.
Dr. Pepper and Fireball?
No.
You said
No,
cream
no.
soda, Dr. Pepper, right?
Yeah. This is this is not sponsored or anything, but this is brand new that I found. You throw a little Fireball in there, it's pretty smooth.
And if they're interested in a sponsorship, reach out to Elijah.
Yeah.
Send an
Elijah will be
email
happy
to admin@priority1podcast.com.
That's right.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep, I am now.
All right.
Yeah.
So here we go, captains.
I'm
We're
on
ba-
mute because Ripley's doing something crazy in the other room.
Do you want us to wait? You want to go yell at Ripley?
She'll stop in a minute. I'm just going to mute until I'm ready to talk.
Okay. Don't you start, though? You open the segment.
Oh, crap. All right, well, hold on. Let me go
All right,
yell
let
at
me
my
go.
dog.
Let me go
And there's
feed my
no
dog.
way that could be changed last minute because it's been set in stone for
Well,
years.
I just, again, it's the...
I know,
it's
I'm
the-
teasing.
It's the whatever, man.
Whatever,
You know what?
man. Shut up.
What a dick. I'm saying it out loud now. I didn't say that.
Skippy, the Elijah soundboard.
How the hell? Why do you have a soundboard of me, dude? God.
Why not?
You never know when it'll come in handy.
The
That's
question is, why haven't we been
unbelievable.
using this for years? Why haven't we been doing this?
Well,
You know how many times I log into Stowe and just go, I want to play a random ground queue, and everybody thinks it's you.
oh, that's hilarious. I didn't know I had a soundboard. That's nice. That's good.
All right, well, I'm ready then. She's
All right.
done.
All right, I'm going to hit the big red button for on screen in 3, 2, 1. This is Elijah on screen, sync 1.
This is Kat on screen, sync 2.
This is Tony on screen, sync 3.
This is Skiffy on screen, sync 4.
To the audio editor whom I have assigned this to, I am sorry. On screen in 3, 2.
Now let's check out what's happening on screen.
Computer. Set Star Trek Picard's Season 1 finale, Et in Arcadia Ego. On screen. Bloop, 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 bloop.
In an effort to save time, and because we know that most of you have already watched the season finale, we're going to forego the witty summary this week. All you need to know is that we're on the android planet. The androids want to summon... Wait. The androids want to summon Unicron, and Picard has to pull... and Picard has to pull a maneuver like the olden days. Oh, and someone does die at the end. Let's jump in.
All right. First things first, let's talk about some of the touchstones and Easter eggs to older Trek that you may have missed. Up first, the biggie is definitely the mentioning of the Picard maneuver. So in the second part of the finale, Jurati, trying to figure out what Picard's plan is, talks about the Picard maneuver on the Enterprise, to which Picard wittingly replies, nope, that was on the Stargazer. Then Riker refers to the Treaty of Algernon, which was first heard of and discussed in TNG's the episode The Pegasus. Also, much like in the first episode of Picard, Blue Skies is played again, this time sung by Isa Briones herself. This is how the series opens. And this is how Data's story ends. A callback to Nemesis. And of course, at the very end, Seven and Rafi are playing a game of Calto. Calto was first mentioned in Star Trek Voyager. Calto was played often by Tuvok in Star Trek Voyager. All right. With those Easter eggs and touchstones aside, we have a lot to discuss because we decided to merge both episodes into one review for on-screen. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about Et in Arcadia Ego. All right, in preparation for this segment, I outlined the two-part episode essentially in scenes. I did a scene breakdown for them. Not a traditional scene breakdown. A professor looking at this would fail me for sure, but just something to help guide the conversation. So, part one opens with the prologue. There's a firefight in the orbit around Capelius. We see the Borg Cube flowers, whatnot. The next scene, we are on the Serena. Jurati discovers Picard's condition after he passed out. And then Picard addresses the brain condition by just telling everybody to STFU and not mention it to him ever again. Does it bother anyone that we're not calling the brain condition by name?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it supposed to be Irumodic syndrome or no? It's just an abnormality. Yeah. Maybe they're, I don't know.
They never paid it off. They waited all 10 episodes and they never ever paid it off, and I'm a little upset about that.
And that's not the only plot point. I mean,
right.
Get into that, but
yeah.
Here's my question: it was Irumodic syndrome for sure in the finale of TNG, but when the timeline collapsed or whatever, when in the conclusion of All Good Things, was it still Irumodic syndrome?
I mean, that's unclear. But you assume so. You assume that he's still going to get it.
Yeah, it's not explicit that Q cured it or anything like that, or that condition was tied to the weird space anomaly or anything like that. But it would have been a good throwback. It would have been a nice interleaving of the episodes, All Good Things in the Picard series. And it would have made sense internally because he was doing a lot of stupid things throughout the course of the series. I mean, a lot of impulsive things, some gambles that were probably not justified. It would have been good. It would have been another this character is flawed. This character has taken some hits over time. This character is not the Jean-Luc Picard we knew once upon a time. Really disappointed they didn't pay that off.
Now, moving on, we stop in on the Borg Cube that crash landed. And mind you, I have to admit that the special effects for when the Borg Cube is brought down and it hits the atmosphere, I thought the special effects for this episode were really good.
I loved it. Those flowers, the orchids, space orchids, whatever, those were amazing.
Yeah,
Like,
I enjoyed those too.
It just took it shows that they took time to address science, right? You in Star Trek, we often kind of, it's not like The Expanse, right? The Expanse is very science heavy and they have a team of actual scientists helping to keep the show honest. In Star Trek, it was kind of refreshing to see that, yeah, that's exactly how a Borg Cube would react entering an atmosphere of a planet crash landing, you know? I thought that was cool. Although, how weird would it have been if it had landed on one of the angled sides? It was like, that would have been awkward. All right.
I still think it would have collapsed more than it did, but that's okay.
Probably.
I think it would have been more of a Borg rectangle.
Now, here's what happens in the cube. The first thing we see once Picard arrives is they talk about Hugh. And it's a throwaway line. It's, how could something, it's something atrocious had to have happened in order to, quote, in order to push, quote, a gentle soul to violence, end quote. We're going to jump ahead here in a moment, but Seven then Spartan kicks Narissa into the void of the Borg Cube as vengeance for killing Hugh. But that's all we get. That's really all we get about Hugh's death.
Well,
It's kind of disappointing that they didn't, I thought, well, I guess we don't know Seven and Hugh's relationship. That just seemed like it would have more emphasis.
We never saw them together in the series. It was sort of implied that they knew each other when she came in and said, "Where's Hugh?" to Elnor.
Right.
I mean, but you don't get the sense that there was as much of a paths crossing and commonality of purpose between those two characters, unlike Icheb and Seven,
Right.
where that's a character defining moment for Seven. I think this was more of too bad about that guy. Well,
Right.
gotta do some bad guy killing now.
Right.
My main issue with Picard as a series, and Hugh exemplifies this feeling, is that Hugh died a couple of episodes ago. It's in the past. They've moved on. They're not really going to deeply address it again. And that's been my issue with Picard since episode 1. It is a serialized story where they're still telling stories that are self-contained in one episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. Yeah, that's
Yep.
a really good point.
No, this is they can't let go of the hour-long format.
Right.
And they don't. It's that is a central tension that they're going to have to fix if they're going to keep doing this. Because, like I've said a couple times now, they're making these episodes for the future. They're making this episode for their subscription service, where people will come to CBS All Access a year from now, 2 years from now, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I remember that Picard series that came out. I had never checked it out back then. I should check it out now." And that's going to be even more jarring later on.
Yeah, for me, it's they just, they succumbed. Is succumb? What's succumb?
Sure, that's it. Succumbed. That's past tense.
Yeah, in my opinion, they just succumbed to the trope of we gotta kill whoever it is that you're emotionally connected to as an audience, for no reason at all. I mean, Hugh's death did nothing to inspire the momentum of any of the primary characters. Picard, it was a throwaway line. Oh, he's dead. Oh, well. Seven. All right, sure. She Spartan kicks Narissa because she's angry that Narissa took his life, but it didn't.
She was going to do that anyway.
She was going to do it anyway.
Oh,
She was going to do it anyway.
absolutely. But I mean, the one it seemed to impact the most was Elnor, right?
Right. But Elnor is a sensitive soul. I mean, he's just naturally more open to his emotions and feelings. So yeah, I expect Elnor to be upset, you know, and feel immediate connection to somebody. He's an empathic soul, not an empath, but just an empathic soul. All right, so moving on, the next scene, we're on Coppelius Station. So we're at the Synth Village, or as Rafi likes to call, Synthville. And if you notice, when they arrive and they first meet Arcana, the music underscoring is so very Jeff Russo and reminiscent of the Kelvin Timeline soundtrack. Just listen to it again and you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that theme, that musical style, that could very well be a scene from a J.J. Abrams Kelvin Timeline movie. But anywho, that's just something to pay attention to the next time you watch it, if you haven't already canceled your subscription to CBS All Access. What I particularly liked about this scene was when Arcana, or it could have been Saga, I'm not sure, one of them, walk up to Picard and she starts tracing his eyes, and like the moment she did it, all I could think about was Hook. There you are, Peter. When the
There
lost
you
boy
are, Picard.
Yes.
Aw.
That's exactly
It reminded
what I
me
thought
of that too. That's funny.
It was just straight up is what it reminded me of. But anywho, we're also introduced. The big moment of this scene is that we are reintroduced to Brent Spiner now as a new character. Brent Spiner playing the role of Alton Inigo Sung. Dun dun dun! How do we feel about that? How do we feel about Brent Spiner not reprising a role, but actually now playing an entirely new role?
Yes.
In a word, inconceivable.
I loved it. I mean, he's great, and he could play any Sung. You know, it's plausible.
He's played all the Sungs.
All of them.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm
Literally,
like,
all of them.
Yeah, they all. I mean, why wouldn't he play it? Yeah.
He plays a Sung on Enterprise. He plays all the Sungs in TNG except for the mom, obviously. And now he's
give him a chance. He'll do that too.
yeah. Give him a chance. He'll play
Yeah.
Mama Sung.
Yeah.
And now he's a brother.
That'd be brilliant.
His secret son. It's Noonien Soon's secret son, and next season of Picard, he'll have a secret daughter as well.
Right.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
You know what? If you're gonna do this, you just own it, right? If the granddad is gonna look like Noonien, and Noonien's kid's gonna look like him, then you just got to go all out, embrace it, just go the whole bit.
So in this reveal, it is. So in this scene, it is revealed to us that Alton Inigo Montoya Sung is in fact the biological son of Data's creator. What's his name? Shit.
Noonien.
Data's creator, Noonien Sung. With the striking resemblance to Data and, of course, his father. So, yes. So, yeah, it was definitely fun to see Brent Spiner coming back into playing the same character that he did on Enterprise. Just saying.
Sure. That's one way to put it for sure. Absolutely.
In this case, his character is a cyberneticist who is really good at creating synthetic bodies, from what we're told.
Go figure.
He's really good at following the work of Dr. Ira Graves in The Schizoid Man from season 2 of TNG.
Yeah.
Where they had the body transfer thing where they took over, where the mad scientist isolated on a planet gets a moment alone with Data and then knocks him out and puts his brain inside Data's brain. So yeah, they again, another missed opportunity for another callback there. They really should have given a nod to that episode. But yeah, this is work that had already been done in the Star Trek universe, transferring a living brain into a synthetic body. So.
All right, now moving on, we get an explanation of what the plot's about, right? So now Sutra, which is one of Soji's sisters, played, of course, by Issa Briones, is trying to figure out what the admonition really means. And in order to do so, instead of going on a journey to the conclave of 8 octenary solar system, where the Romulans first discovered this messaging trampoline, she'll just mind meld. This synth has the ability to mind meld and interpret the admonition. So this is very much also another moment where it is implied to us, they try to sell us on the fact that Jurati really wasn't at fault. Like, this is that scene where they tried to convince us that Jurati really isn't a murderer. Did it work? I don't know. But what I really want to focus on is the admonition here a second. Actually, I don't.
No, you don't, because it just stopped making it didn't make sense when they first did it, and it makes even less sense now.
All right,
So-
was it the same though when Sutra mind melded? Okay, let's get to that in a minute. But was it the same as when Sutra saw it through Jurati as how Jurati saw it? Because it seemed different. Like, it had extra bits.
So that's kind of what bothers me about it, that this seems like a really bad idea, because if you've ever played the game Telephone, you know that by the time it reaches the third or fourth person, the phrase is changed in some way, shape, or form. And here we are, Commander O mind melding Jurati, and then with whatever she wanted to mind meld, right? She could have hidden some of the psychic ability, right? She obviously, the mind meld had even more weight to it because she put a psychic block on Jurati, according to the previous episode. But anywho, maybe Jurati didn't see all of the admonition. Yeah. Maybe, so how
the implication
the
implication was that the biological mind couldn't understand the message. So when O took it from the magical trampoline, O didn't get the message. She got the entire message, but didn't understand it. Then she passed the message that she didn't understand with the layer of stuff she didn't understand onto Jurati, then put a psychic block on it. Then the android, who had done a lot of reading of books of Vulcan telepathy stuff, mind melded with Jurati, got past the psychic block, got the entire message, which she understood because her brain is synthetic, and then exposition time tells everybody what's up.
So look, this is one of those moments where I think it was a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
I think that we should have taken the synths to the octenary star system.
Definitely.
It was enough of a plot point where it was mentioned several times throughout the course of the 10 episodes where we should have had one of the synths put their hands on the magical trampoline.
Yep.
Yeah, if we had 10 more episodes, we could have gone there.
Well, you see, that's the thing, is that you didn't need you don't need 10 more episodes for this. I think there are some scenes that we could have done, that we could have sacrificed. I mean, one of the scenes that I would have absolutely have sacrificed off the top of my head is the multiple hollow scene with all the various Rioses. That could have completely that entire sequence. I'm going back, yeah, because there are moments in these 10 episodes where we could have invested that time and those production dollars maybe into giving us a different perspective and another angle that helped move the plot. So I think about, we could have done without the hollows, because
the stuff that happened in episodes 7, 8, and 9 should have happened in 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, things like that. So we'll get to more on that later. Moving on, we are now having we're now introduced to the Moving on, we're now introduced to the Golem, and I don't know who.
My precious.
Yes,
that's Golem. That's Smeagol.
Oh,
not
sorry.
Golem.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
So this is clearly setting up and foreshadowing something, right? This is obviously not just a throwaway, but we're going to use the Golem later. So keep that in the back of your head. And
it's Chekhov's Golem, my precious.
Yes. then we have a moment where Sutra and Soji are having a conversation. And it's a very sinister conversation, at least on Sutra's part. Did anybody else kind of wonder, is Sutra a Data? I'm sorry. Did anybody else wonder if Sutra was perhaps a lore?
When she walked on screen with the sexy walk. Yep.
Did anybody else think that Sutra was perhaps an offspring of lore and not Data?
Yes.
I didn't think she was Lore's child, but she was going to serve Lore's role. That
Right.
was, yeah. It was the sexy walk when she came on screen that gave it away.
Oh, because Lord has a sexy walk.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't know that? You didn't watch that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Those boots were made for walking.
Hell yeah.
Way to work it.
Now, soon after, the team starts to break up and they start to go their separate ways to accomplish certain tasks. And just before Rafi leaves Picard, they have a touching moment where she says to him, "After everything you've done for me, thank you and I love you." This is something that I'm not going to yield on. I'm just not going to yield on this. I'm sorry. But Picard trashed Rafi's life. Like, no question about it. There is no in between the lines to read here. And I encourage anybody, if you can find something of substantial weight to show that Picard didn't screw up Rafi's life, please bring it to my attention. Because if you read the novel, the Picard novel by Una McCormick, and then if you watch, and then if you, sure, and then if you watch this series, Picard has done nothing but take advantage of Rafi's dedication to Starfleet and to him. If you in Una
say that like it's
McCormick's,
a bad thing.
in Una McCormick's novel, she sacrifices her family. She
She's an
sacrifices
admiral. It's what they do.
her career. And then in Picard, in the second episode where we are introduced to Rafi, she says to him, in 14 years, you couldn't even pick up the phone, and I'm paraphrasing here. In 14 years, you couldn't even pick up the phone and call me. I was here in my
Hovel.
desert hovel, and you're off in your chateau. And so, what has he done for her? He takes advantage of her addiction. He takes advantage of her weakened mental state when she's high and drunk. So, what did Picard do for her?
I got nothing. I'm with you.
I'm with you. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it just wasn't established. So anyway, there's that. And the reason the reason I'm holding on to that is because I think that Rafi was a drug addict that was comedic relief on the show, and it should not have been that way. Drug addiction should not be treated like that. I am 100% behind the legalization of marijuana in the United States. I think that it is a medicine that can help a lot of people. But there's a difference between something like legalizing medical marijuana and romanticizing drug addiction. Rafi is not medicating with medical marijuana the way that some people might. She is killing the pain, the emotional damage that she has experienced. She is an addict. She has a problem that is not addressed and instead taken advantage of. This was not a progressive legalize it interpretation for entertainment television. This was just poor writing on this was just uninsightful writing towards addiction.
Well, not only that, I was expecting there to be a little bit of a redemption story in her story arc this season, right. And that didn't happen. No. As a matter of fact, later on in the 2-part finale, she's around the campfire still smoking up on the vape. It's subtle, you don't notice it, but she's holding it in her hand.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Nope,
Yeah.
I didn't notice either, but it doesn't surprise me. The arc could have and should have been getting back on the road, because it turns out that maybe her crazy theory was right. Her son rejecting her, maybe a relapse, but I don't think she should have relapsed. And I think she should have been like, no, this is my opportunity to show that I was right in the first place 14 years ago when I thought that the Romulans were doing bad things and the synth thing was a hoax or a plant or whatever it was. Then showing and then redeeming herself in the eyes of her old captain. Like, this is what you missed out on, JL. We could have been doing all this 14 years rather than you hiding in your house and me, getting blasted on the electric lettuce. That could have been a much more, I think a much more entertaining look and a much more Star Trek look at people having problems but overcoming them by facing a common adversity.
Right.
That would have been a lot better for Star Trek, I thought.
All right, so here's where things start to change for me with respect to the episode. Now, a few episodes back, I had said, this is not the Picard that I remember, right? And this is not the Picard that inspired me watching TNG, or inspired others, at least to me, right? This is just not him. But after Nepenthe, and after he gets slapped in the face by, metaphorically speaking, slapped in the face by Deanna Troi and Will Riker, we are starting to see the Picard we're used to. The monologue Picard. And that's okay. That's all right. It's funny to say it that way, but monologue Picard, who is about hitting you over the head with themes, morality, questions of morality, and all that is wholesome and good in the world, right? So, and the first time we see that in this two-parter is when Picard is talking with Soji, and Soji is starting to side with Sutra, and she's telling him this, and he says things like, "Oh, all right, so you want to take a life to save a life? What is this about the logic of sacrifice?" He starts to really put on the Picard toupee and act like the captain that we saw in the 80s and 90s.
I agree. I mean, you saw him kind of a shell with Deanna and Riker a little bit, and it may be a case of too little, too late, or even never had the opportunity with Soji, because they just met an episode or so ago, but he's paying a little bit of a price for not winning the argument 14 years ago, because remember, Soon says they didn't listen to him then, they're not going to listen to him now. So I mean, that was good. I like the fact that they are that they show that failure continues to have consequences and repercussions. But I think that if they had let him win too early, right? If they had let him win too early, if they had let him win that argument with Soji early on, then the show would have been over, right? They couldn't have ramped up the drama. But I also think that you have to let Soji fail too, right? You have to let her not measure up the first time. And I think that was important, though, to show both the consequences of Picard's earlier failure and to let Soji not measure up the first time around.
And she doesn't, and that's how the first part of this two-part season finale ends, where she has decided that all organic life needs to be exterminated. So we now move on to part 2 of this series finale. I'm sorry. So now we move on to part 2 of the season finale, and the prologue is a Romulanister scene that I really don't care about. Anybody have anything to say about that?
I do, because where the heck did Narissa come from? I thought she got transported off that ship, and then all of a sudden she's back on the ship, and he just shows up because he was hanging out. Where did she come from?
My understanding is that the way it was set up is that she did transport out, but I guess she just transported to another part of the ship, which was weird.
Makes no sense.
I know. I'm like,
why?
Where was she hiding?
I mean,
there was nothing left to do on that ship.
It's a big cube.
They just vented the place.
Yeah, I mean, all the Borg went. Okay, so she just shows up. Whatever.
Also, have you guys thought about the fact that there's a cloud of Borg just floating in space now?
There is.
Because they can survive in space. We know that from First Contact.
Yeah. They're right now. They're whatever. They have anybody who has a Ziploc bag or a snack pack is opening that for a little puff of air to push each other together, and they're gonna link arms into a giant Borg like skydiving sphere, and they're gonna assimilate each other somehow. Yeah. I think that's season 2. Season 2, we're gonna see that.
What became apparent to me in these opening scenes was that Narek is no more impressive than Buster Bluth from Arrested Development.
Let's right out and admits it.
He's so Buster Bluth.
He is legit Buster Bluth. He is the
I just want you to be proud of me, big
misfit.
sister.
Yeah, I just want you to be proud of me. I'm really not as stupid as you think I am. I can do this.
I found them.
I found them. Ignore the hook on my hand. I am A-okay. I am as cool as everybody else. So yeah. So we learn about that. We learn that of Narek, that he's not as sinister as we might have thought, but he's really just a bumbling moron that was trying to prove himself to his family.
I think we give him a little bit more than
bumbling moron.
Yeah, a horny bumbling moron. That So
with a foot fetish.
Yes.
His sister just comes right out and just says it. Oh, you found the colony? Yep, sure did. How many of you slept with? Well, like none. So I mean, it's just, he gets no respect from his sister, but I think that made him want to do more, right? It's his encouragement. It's his motivation. Please accept me. I am not the bumbling idiot you think I am.
Now, all right, so now we get to another moment where I think production dollars and time could have been better spent. And that was story time around the campfire.
Yeah. First of all, you just got the power core or whatever fixed with the magical hand wavium device. So y'all could hang out in front of the replicator and have a decent meal. What's with the campfire and the sleeping outside at night with the electrical storms? Huge plot point. This planet at nighttime is covered in electrical storms.
They're not. No, they just go outside. They go back in at the end of that scene because you see when they right before they cut to another scene, the La Serena has its shutters closing in, so they go back inside.
Did you just say
Just
the
say-
La Serena?
He stopped himself.
I stopped myself. I purposefully stopped myself.
Hey, La Serena. Okay. So.
Oh my God, that's a parody right there. Something
unhear
Warp
that.
Core.
We're doing it. We're doing
Warp
it.
Core La Serena.
Yeah, we're
Oh
doing
my gosh!
it.
Because what are the motions that he does to?
To fly the
ship.
ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, just snap and he turns the thing.
Oh,
parody
we've
song
created
right
a new phenomenon. Look it out!
Nice.
Brilliant.
Hey, La
Nice.
Serena.
Panda's on board.
Yeah, we're doing this. Probably writing this after the show's over.
Panda,
Okay.
take notes, please.
Yeah. So it makes even less sense then. So they just went outside for a smoke break. Literally, we're going to set some wood on fire. Where'd the wood come from? I don't know. But we got Rafi with the vape there, so maybe she had a secret stash of firewood on board too. But the ambiance of the campfire story, right? I mean, it's pretty clear we're going to tell ghost stories around the campfire at night. But they went straight to Battlestar Galactica again.
Right.
All of the what was that quote? You have it in here, and it's
It has happened before, and it'll happen.
I believe
again.
it's history. It always repeats itself.
Oh, what?
And then cut to a scene of a Cylon warbird. I mean, a Romulan raider. I mean, a Romulan warbird that looks an
Warbird?
awful lot like a Cylon raider.
Right.
So and then you've got a planet full of androids and multiple copies of Soji, number 8. I mean, the homage is strong with this one. Let's put
Well,
it
you
that way.
gotta set it up for. Well, you gotta set it up because now we have a heist.
Oh,
That's it.
heist.
Gee, Rick. Oh, gee.
Gee, you son of a bitch! I'm in. If any of you who watch Rick and Morty know of the heist episode, yeah, all the friends become enemies, enemies become friends. You have a bit of people getting together and trying to plot to stop the synths from issuing global galactic apocalypse to kill all the
Hey, Brian, you got a secret compartment there, Brian? You got a secret compartment inside a unsuspecting a vessel of some kind? You got a distraction of some kind? You got a fake prisoner? Got a fake prisoner there?
You're gonna pull the imagination tool as a Deus Ex Machina? No, I'm just kidding. This is a good show anyway. I'm just playing. It's better than Discovery. So
That's a low bar.
the enemies become friends, and they put together a plot to destroy the beacon that summons Unicron, the ultimate AI civilization that will kill and destroy and exterminate all organic life. But Sung discovers that Sutra helped Narek, and now he's a member of the heist crew.
Right, because the murder of one synth means that the whole thing was a bad idea.
Eh.
I mean, they're going to wipe out all biological life.
Who's
Okay.
green?
That's me.
What were you gonna say?
I was
about it?
just like, my point was like, I thought Sutra had killed Saga all along. Like, I thought she just set Narek up. And I mean, turns out sort of in a way. But as soon as that happened, where you see Saga, I'm like, oh, she did it.
Yeah, well, they have the motivation for Sung joining them. I guess is okay if you go for the mad scientist thing, but the motivation for him switching doesn't make any sense at all. And he was complicit with the genocide of all biological life in the galaxy
Until she decides to kill us AI. Yeah.
So
what do you call him?
yeah, I don't know, the synthetic whatever. I mean, that makes zero sense to me whatsoever.
All right, so things start to kick up, and now the action starts to ramp up here, especially with space battles and whatever's happening on the ground. Again, these scenes coming up really, really do a great job at representing Picard in the way that he was in TNG, on television TNG. The monologuist, right? But he says some important things, right? He says things that are quotable, that are memorable. Fear is an incompetent teacher. He talks and still injecting some humor, because when he calls them hermits, the two hermits, I'd laughed because of the way he delivered it. This was the Picard, this monologue about what he has to do and why he has to do it, and how the synths are like children. This was the Picard that I remember. The diplomat of the next generation. I mean, it was just I liked it. I really did like this scene.
I did too. I loved it. He's willing to sacrifice everything for his principles because it's the right thing to do, and that's what he's going to do, and everybody is aware of that.
Right.
You know what I liked about it? It advanced the plot and gave people motivation. I really enjoyed the fact that it advanced the plot and gave people motivation. I felt like a lot of that was missing a lot of times, but it really got it spades right there.
Well, and then we get some awesome fan service with Starfleet warping in, and the man in charge is none other than William Riker. That was cool. That was kind of cool for me.
Yeah, from a logistical admiralty, hierarchical sense, it makes absolutely zero sense to put retired William Riker in charge of 100 starships a day after he asks for special permission, but it was cool.
It was.
By the way, well, they did it for Picard. I mean,
it was just cool to see Jonathan Frakes in the chair, in the big chair. That was just cool.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they figured, oh, hey, she's gone. Like, what happened to her? Maybe we should put Riker in charge of
Well,
this.
you know what? That's a really good example. These are moments, these are scenes that should have made it into the final cut of Picard, sacrificing the fireside chat that we got about Gormagander or whatever the heck they were, the big Romulan baddie. We didn't need story time. We needed context. And we already knew that the Romulans, didn't want this to happen for one reason or another. We didn't need that scene, but we could have used a scene where maybe Riker goes up to
Clancy?
Clancy,
Clancy.
and says, "Look, I'm the one for this. I'm the one for this job. I'm going." Something like that. So another missed opportunity, and something else that probably would have been better than what we got.
You know what else should have made it in the show? More than one starship.
Oh, dang. Because I was like, hey, those all look the same.
I have a problem with this for a few reasons. The whole sequence felt rushed, so it felt like their VFX team was very rushed. But my issue is with the context of what those starships are. They're supposed to be the latest and greatest, but Utopia Planitia had been blown up, and the entire Mars planet destroyed. So where
14
exactly
years ago.
if you blew up the entire U.S. Navy right now or their shipyards, do you think they'd be rebuilt
right
in
now
14 years?
though, you're talking about 200 years in the future where there's replicator technology and a whole bunch of other stuff. So maybe they're not at full capacity, but I would have to think that there have to be other shipyards.
I think you'd
elsewhere.
have a whole bunch of older ships in that fleet, not 100 of the newest ones.
Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here because I agree with you. And interesting you say about it having been rushed, because it seems that one of the crew members on Picard had taken to Instagram and had said on something like March 20th, that's a wrap for Picard. Well, last Tuesday. So in theory, what that Instagram post suggests is that they didn't wrap until either the 10th or the 17th of March. And the time of this recording is the 31st. So if they were already working from home because of COVID-19, if they were already down to the wire and didn't have this done, oh yeah, there was probably quite a bit of copy-paste assets happening for that scene.
Absolutely.
It's too bad that that's how that's going to go into the can for all time and all eternity, and maybe we'll get a director's cut re-release at some point. But yeah, I think they knew, either they knew going in there was going to be a problem, or they rewrote it at the end because it was going to be a problem, because Frakes delivers the line, and I got 100 more just like it behind me. So I mean, either they knew it in time for filming that they were going to be a copy paste job, or they changed the script because they saw that problem on the horizon.
Or they were like, we just replicated these ships. It's like a kit bash.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, I think it was Duncan Idaho posted on Twitter. He had already gone into Star Trek Online and tried to kit bash the starship that Riker is on. There was even a Newsweek
Jeju?
article. Yeah, there was even a Newsweek article kind of tying in the ship and what's happening in Star Trek Online, and then Duncan Idaho, I believe it was, went on Twitter and shared his kit bash, which is a kit bash of the Sovereign. So yeah, check that out. You might already be able to get that ship in game. I don't know, but moving
That'll
on.
disappoint Al,
Yeah,
because he won't be able to sell another ship.
Well, those Romulan ships were pretty sweet.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
what the one Romulan ship?
Yeah,
the
that
or the-
one.
or the other one.
I mean, either one.
I will say I was disappointed that we didn't get a much better space battle. I mean,
For
How about
sure.
the La Serena and the other La Serenas?
I will say that I laughed out loud when Girardi replicated her face.
That was a
funny.
good bit.
That
I
was
did
That
too.
was an excellent bit. That was mwah.
She's also got the face for it, and it worked.
Absolutely.
beautifully.
That scene worked.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, Kat, you wanted to talk about Seven and Narissa duking it out?
I think we've talked about it before. Maybe
Okay.
it was just a necessity, but Seven, yeah, get her. It
Nice.
was so good. And she deserves it because she's, Romulan Lannister.
Right. And but she'll be back. She'll be back.
I know,
because-
but that's
we
the
didn't
thing.
see her
Yeah,
die.
it kicked her over the edge. I'm pretty sure she's not dead. I don't know.
Never really gone.
I
We
never
we
saw
didn't see
it.
her, and her eyes
Yeah.
didn't close. So if her if
Yep.
they don't close her eyes
Yep.
and you don't see the death, then they could very well be alive.
Yeah, she's down there getting Borgified as we speak.
Maybe she's got. Oh, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, she could have.
Oh
been
yeah, she's totally getting Borgified
And what
because it'll be
happened
good
to her?
comeuppance.
What happened to her auntie? Like that, she didn't get killed. They didn't show her dying when they did that whole extermination of the XBs.
Yeah, you see, these are questions that should have been addressed because there were big things. There were big plot points throughout the 10 episodes. So, yeah,
Got a
who knows?
question.
Who knows?
So, rather than her getting Borgified, so we know that synths, or we presume that synths have to be created in pairs, right? You got Data and Lore created. Well, they weren't created at the same time, were they?
Nope,
That
that's
breaks
something
my
they totally
theory.
made up. Yep.
That breaks my theory. But what we saw so many pairs of synths on this Capellius station.
Capelius, yeah.
Capellius station. So do they have to be? Why are they now being created in pairs? And one of my theories that I've been stewing in my head is that Narek and Narissa are actually synths.
Oh, interesting.
Because if Narissa survived that message, she was.
Oh,
the
yeah,
only
she
one
wasn't
to
even
see
fazed by it.
completely- Yeah, she was completely unfazed by it.
Well, it's
But
interesting.
she didn't activate, and she also didn't.
Well, she activated.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I
in a
think
different
those
way.
synth in pairs were because of the Data consciousness, right? They had
Yeah,
to
they
have
explained.
the
Yeah. Girardi explained that. That was her thing in episode 1, where she's like, "Yeah, it's like, where's the other one?" She's like, "Oh wait, there's 2 of them." And they're like, "Yeah, when you do it, you have to do it like this because you make 2 of them." So the fractal neuronic cloning or whatever it was.
That's right. All right, so moving on to probably some of the best scene work in Star Trek history. Spoiler alert, Picard sacrifices himself for the synth populace and ultimately for Soji. Because, as Picard says, the whole point is to save each other. So, all right. Picard sacrifices his life. He makes it down to the planet. He is laying there in Rafi's arms, and he passes away. He says, "You were right" to Rafi, and then dies, and we don't know what that was about. But not to worry, because we were set up with the Golem, right? It was obvious that he was going to be put into the Golem, especially that it was announced that there was a season 2, right? So there wasn't much of a surprise there. Picard was not going to die.
The surprise would have been if he did. That would have been.
And yes, and we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about that simulation, right? Where the simulacra or whatever, right? Where Picard and Data are sitting across from one another. This was classic Trek. Absolutely classic Trek. Do you guys agree? Do you disagree?
No.
And
No,
why not?
I was not a fan because this was another one of those deals where it was too long, right? If this was what they were aiming for the whole time, Picard coming to terms with Data sacrificing himself, if that was the whole point of the whole journey, we really could have skipped the sad moments with Elnor and Seven and Chris. We really could have gotten to the chase with Picard and Data and done it one time. We could have just had it and had it over with.
So what you're saying is we didn't need him to die in front of Rafi and Elnor and have these last words. We could have just gone into the simulation.
Yes, because if the whole point of Picard's arc was almost his redemption from being the sad, morose old man alone in his house to going back out and having some adventures at the end of season 1 and starting of season 2. If the whole point was he had to get over Data's loss, they should have just gone to that. They should fade out of him dying in Raffi's arms, come up, and that's it. Come up with Data, and then go to Data's funeral. That should have been it.
Okay, I agree with you there.
The news already got out that we had a season 2. All that stuff in the middle was just sort of wasted time. And that scene with Data needed to have been. We didn't need to go back in to watch Data get on the couch. That's the other part of it that we didn't need to see either.
Oh, I disagree with you there, sir.
No,
I disagree with you there.
I thought it was weird. Yeah, I didn't feel it.
Oh, I did.
No, I felt it too. I'm with you, Kim.
I felt like I was a little confused because Data's like, this was all a simulation or a simulacra or whatever. And then I'm like, wait, but when did that start? I mean, when was it from when he beamed down, like after he said the last words to Raffi? But was it?
Exactly.
But was it? What parts of the simulation? Was it all a dream?
Right.
And then
exactly.
I was like, oh my God, what just happened?
We don't need any of that. We don't need any of that.
Okay, I get skipping the whole goodbye Elnor, goodbye Raffi, goodbye Girardi, goodbye Rios. I get all that. I agree. That was kind of wasted time. He should have died, and we should have immediately just whitewashed transition, and it's him and Data sitting on the couch. But tell me again the confusion. What was it?
That we don't need to go back and see Data dying. We don't need to go back and see that because the whole point is Picard getting over Data. This isn't Data's story. This is Picard's story.
Right, so why would we not? It's Picard's story, but he needed the closure. This whole arc, this whole adventure was because Picard couldn't accept the fact that Data sacrificed himself.
Right.
He's talking about the flashbacks when they're unplugging Data's isolinear chips.
We don't need to cut back and forth to that and get all that stuff too, because it does raise the question: what has Data been doing for the last 14 years? I mean, what has he just been running in temporary stasis on Soong's desk for 14 years? Now I have more questions.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Well, he has been. They've been creating these twins.
And also, Kat, I think to answer
the CGI effect they did on his face, that was just
well.
Weird.
Hold on. So, Kat, I think you were. Did you ask how Data got in the simulation? Is that what you asked?
No, my question was like, when did this simulation or simulacra start? Like, was it from?
For Data, I think it was since he was downloaded off of B4.
Exactly, but for Picard, was it when he said goodbye, or was it? It's unclear, like which part of that was simulated.
So for Picard, I think it was the moment that we get back in, and he wakes up, and Data comes in, and he says, "Is this another damn dream?"
Right, but even then, you're like, "Wait, really?" Wait.
I just wanted Data to be like, 14 years can give you such a crick in the neck. No, I'm kidding. All right. So in this scene, sure, you have to suspend some disbelief here. Data's been locked away in some kind of stasis for 14 years, and Picard is now having his brain transferred over to the Golem. Suspending disbelief aside, I think that the dialogue between the two of them was another instance of well-written conversation that bookended maybe something that didn't need bookending, but something that definitely drove the plot for this 10-episode arc, which was that Picard was living the last 14 years of his life, self-pitying himself for the loss of his friend, for the loss of the saving Romulans, all these things. And that conversation with Data, I thought, was just classic Star Trek, just something straight out of an episode of TNG, that the two of them, are saying goodbye. Now, would I have wanted Picard to have switched into that Golem? Abso-freaking-lutely not. I am not interested in any of that nonsense. Get that noise out of here. Kill Picard. Let's end it. Let's both of them walk into the sunlight together. But we didn't get that. Nice. We didn't get it.
I agree.
We didn't get it. And what we got was Picard finally being able to say, I love you to Data, to close that door. And then for Data to get more than just an explosive death.
So now that Data has been unplugged, can they not make new synths?
That's what I wondered.
Probably not.
That's a good point. If he, well,
But-
I don't
But
know.
don't worry.
But we don't know.
But don't worry. All they have to do is just plug the memory chips back in. And
I was wondering
there
about
you
that
go.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
or
You're telling me in 14 years this thing's never lost
Soji-
power once?
Or Soji, like Cylon number 8, has a baby.
there you go.
Right,
That's right.
They give birth and
It's
stuff.
happened before. It'll happen again.
Now,
On a different network.
so then Picard gets it switched into the Golem. They explain the whole Golem thing and how he's really, yeah, you're a synth, but you're gonna die like you normally would die. So in other words, it's just a
Extension?
something. Yeah, I don't know.
point
I don't know.
two?
I'm not.
Card 2.0?
I'm trying really hard not to think about it because I already have a hard time with the concept of consciousness and how transporters affect consciousness and whether or not you're just transporting and creating a copy. What happens to the concept of the soul, quote unquote, and now you're talking about moving the mind into is it really Picard or is it just,
I'm really looking forward to see how they do an homage to Altered Carbon in season 2 of Picard.
Right, yes.
That's what I'm looking forward to.
Also, if they didn't, they could have brought Picard back in a number of ways. They could have done what they did to Riker and just said, "Oh, well, a copy of him was accidentally sent back into a planet, and here he is."
Yeah, I get. Yeah, it's so many different things. But I do want to take a moment to focus on Blue Skies, because I think it's very important to always listen to what's happening in a show like Picard, right? It's not just the Mona Lisa, it's the entire portrait, right? So Blue Skies is playing in the background, sung by Soji, the actress Isa Briones. And for those of you who are, who enjoy the old crooner music, the Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, the Rat Pack, you name it, that this song is typically sung up tempo. It's a up tempo dancey song, right?
Like it was in Nemesis.
But Jeff Russo made the conscious decision to play this song as Data is disappearing into the ether, but in a very unique way. Okay, now for those of you unaware, Blue Skies was written by Irving Berlin, a Jewish immigrant composer, American composer. If you listen to traditional Jewish music, it's quite minor, and when I say minor, I mean the keys in minor, right? Hava Nagila, but they are still jovial songs. So Irving Berlin's, especially Blue Skies, you'll hear these minor chords that are still set to up-tempo songs, right? That give the song character, that give the song more than just the stereotypical music theater jive, we'll just say. And so Jeff Russo's score really focuses on those minor chords, the dissonance of the key of the notes and the movement, in addition to slowing the tempo, right? We get an entirely different experience to Blue Skies.
Haunting.
Something that is
Very
haunting, something that is reflective, that makes you stop and think. So, and I have to thank Allie, because Allie and I, the moment we watched it, we ran to the piano and I started singing it. We started talking about it. We started kind of breaking it down to kind of really understand why they, not only why did they bring back Blue Skies, but more specifically how they brought back the song. So listen to it again. Go on iTunes, listen to the soundtrack White Christmas. The Broadway musical White Christmas, that song's in there. This song is fresh in my mind because I just played Bob from White Christmas 2 Christmases ago. So it's very fresh in my mind. And so to hear this arrangement of Blue Skies was fascinating and a wonderful opportunity for me to explore how music influences a scene and influences the emotive response to what's happening on screen. It was smart. It was just a smart use of the song, a absolutely smart rendition and a smart arrangement. And Isa Briones is a talented triple threat, I've never seen her dance, but she's a talented actress who has.
Well, you've seen her slide down a Borg Cube.
That's true. Who has been on Broadway, who's done musical theater, comes from a music theater family. So listen to it again. Let it sink in. And Allie was the one who said this, but the only way that scene would have been more heart-wrenching is if Spot had jumped on Data's lap at the very last minute and then faded away with him.
I was already crying. That just made it a million times worse.
That would have been such a great little touch, just having Spot hop on and curl up and then fade away with him.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
So what's next for season 2 of Picard? Well, at the end of it, we saw everybody hop back on La Serena. Girardi and Rios are a happy couple. So are Seven and Rafi while playing Calto. And we have a new bridge crew. So what's the theme for this season of Picard?
Nothing matters.
We got renewed. We got a second season. That's
Now seriously,
We're in the money.
All right. No,
Yeah, I'm like representation, diplomacy.
I mean, Picard is racking up a humongous bill with Rios. I mean, I don't know how he's going to pay for this. His retirement, he's going to have to sell the chateau.
Yeah, Rios is
Yeah,
gonna be living
that's
at
a
the chateau.
good point. He's
He's
All
going
right,
to
hold
sell
on,
that
sir.
chateau.
all right. So, kidding aside, what are your takeaways from the series? What do you think were the themes they were trying to touch on and address and give to the audience?
It's never too late to follow your dreams. I don't know.
All right.
I honestly, I already said my bit. The whole thing was Picard never got over Data's death. That was it. That was why he was trying to save Romulus, because Data died during the mission where they were trying to save Romulus. And so he never really got over it. And this was how he gets over that and how he moves on. And so he's back, and now he's got a new crew with him, and they're going to go do some adventures, which is why there's a season 2.
And if you want emotional depth, you got to kill Data.
I guess so.
It worked in Nemesis. Oops.
Well, his whole life is, trying to make everyone else uphold moral standards of the Federation and accept, different cultures and different species. And, this is a new species and now he's a part of it. And everyone needs to recognize that. And moving forward, will you recognize, AI as sentient life? I'm thinking that's going to be an issue.
The issue is I don't know what his future goal is. So he's gotten the Federation on board for defending the Sins because they showed up,
right?
With
Under the
a
treaty.
fleet of 100 of their most expensive starships. He's said goodbye to his friend. He has no goals left. What's he going to do?
Fight Romulans?
Well, I don't want to spend too much time thinking about what might come in season 2. Maybe we can save that conversation for when we record After Hours.
Well, but that's my issue with having a season 2. Like, they didn't leave. They left characters alive so that we have characters for season 2, but they left no motivation.
Oh, I see.
This was made to be a single season show. And it's very apparent now that we have nothing to look forward to. I thought there'd be a cliffhanger at the end of season 1.
Right.
I did too.
I did too.
So overall, personally, I did enjoy this ride, and I thought it was better as a binge than episodic. It gave us fan service, quite a bit of fan service, more so than Discovery for sure. Bringing back characters like Jonathan Frakes as Will Riker, Marina Sirtis as Deanna Troi. These moments where they harken back to old episodes of TNG. There was fan service galore here. And not bad, not necessarily bad fan service, right?
You can tell Shaban is a Star Trek fan. Not only his interviews and stuff, but there were missed opportunities. We've identified them, but for the most part, he remembers and salutes the catalog.
Right.
And that really came through for the most part in Picard.
Right.
Absolutely.
And you notice these things specifically, like we mentioned already, the dialogue moments between Rafi and Rios, between Picard and Hugh, between Rios and Seven later on, in these last two episodes. Picard and Data, of course, talking about regret, self-sacrifice, closure. These are, at its core, themes that we saw and heard in TNG. And it was refreshing to hear those things again. But yeah, there were certainly missed opportunities, and I think that certain scenes didn't need to happen, and other scenes could have been filmed to make it more cohesive as a season plot.
And to add more depth.
Right, and to add more depth. For me, like, the big example that I can give is, instead of having all those hollows and it being a joke, right? Let's spend more time learning about who Rios was. Instead of him not just telling Rafi what happened aboard the Ibn Majid, I would have rather them do a cutback.
Flashback?
What is it called?
Flashback.
I would have rather them have done a flashback where we see this and we see Rios react to what's happening to him. I think we would have been more connected to Rios. Instead, he was a character that happened to be Latino, and I kind of wish that they had leaned more into Santiago Cabrera's acting chops. Let's see the drama. Let's see that moment.
Yeah, they fully could have introduced a flashback. Maybe he was sitting around and reading his book before Picard beams on, where he flashes back to his old captain in the old ship. That could have been done in the first couple of episodes, and we didn't need all the other stuff.
Yeah. I think Simi, who's watching us on Periscope right now, is right. Most Trek season 1, most of the season 1, hold on, how do I phrase this? Most Star Trek has a really rough season 1, and I think Picard had a strong first season. Is it great sci-fi? Is it good sci-fi? Does it hold up to what sci-fi has been pushing out on other channels like HBO or even Fox?
It's better than the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yes, yeah. It's better than Sharknado, absolutely. It's better than Discovery, in my opinion, absolutely. But I think this is the strongest first season of Star Trek we've ever seen. But is it really a first season? Or is it the continuation? Is it TNG season 8?
They had some help. They did. They had a running start, let's put it that way. So this is where probably a lot of Star Trek series would be at season 2-ish, midway through season 2. And like every Star Trek series, they do have to get their legs under them. They have to introduce the characters, get to know the characters. They have to iron out production problems. All that other stuff is, finding the wings a little bit. I expect season 2 will be better, even though it's not clear to us right now what the hell they're going to make season 2 about. I'm sure that problem will solve itself because they have writers. But I think that if they have the ensemble back, the mix of old characters like Picard and Seven with the new characters, Jurati and Soji and those people, I think that's a good place to start and to keep that running start going. You gonna let me have the last word? You're not gonna let me have the last word.
I am. I'm gonna let you have the last word.
What? Not a thing.
I'm gonna let you have the last word.
We are like an hour and 10 minutes in this segment.
I agree. Go ahead, Kat.
This segment's an hour and 10 minutes.
You guys wanted it this way.
That wraps up this week's on screen for Star Trek Picard. Now let's open hailing frequencies and see what's incoming.
Everybody hit stop.
He said with judgment in his.
I said with.
I'm like, sorry, whoever I said at this.
Oh,
what a dick! I'm saying it. I'm saying it out loud now. I'm not really saying it. That's the soundboard.
best.
That's the
Skippy,
best.
that's fantastic.
I'm sorry. Was that my passive aggressive way of saying we're never doing that again?
No, it's just straight aggressive. I think I'm pretty sure this is straight aggressive.
Look,
I feel aggressed.
There was no way we were going to cover 2 episodes and the series finale in under 20 minutes. There was just no way.
Oh, you're right.
No way. I knew it was going to be at least an hour. At maybe 45 minutes. Maybe. But definitely not.
Yeah.
Definitely not our usual 20-minute.
Jason Smith in the chat goes, Picard is ex-Borg, now a synth, ex-human. So he's been
Ex-human.
upgraded. Picard's been upgraded in cybernetics every.
So he's a Cyberman?
Well, here's
Sorry, Doctor Who reference.
Yeah.
Well, he
yeah.
started with an artificial heart.
Artificial heart, right?
Oh yeah.
Then he got
that's
assimilated.
Right.
Then he got de-assimilated. Then he was put under hypnosis from an alien satellite and lived a whole other life as an
That's right.
alien for a while.
Jason Smith says cyborg.
Oh, interesting.
That's right, a Cylon Borg.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, captains. I want to thank you all for joining us and sticking through all of this with us.
Through all of
been,
this.
through all of it. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this live broadcast recording of episode 455 of Priority 1, a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. All right, everybody. Say good night.
Bye,
Good
y'all.
night.
Command codes verified. Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.